24/7, 365. The fantasy season never dies. Welcome to Every Day is Draft Day. Presented by Champions Round.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest edition of Every Day is Draft Day. I am your host, Eagle Dan FF. Joining me, as always, this morning, Steffi Smalls. What's up, Steph?
Good morning, Dan. This is the earliest we have ever recorded. I have my coffee. I'm on the left side of the screen, or left, however you point on here. But I'm excited to talk about free agency. It's definitely been a crazy couple of days.
Yeah, it's been very surprising with the amount of money that's being shelled out in the early days of free agency. Plus, we could talk about the Deshaun Watson, wherever he's going, and some trade news. So let's just start with the trade news. Cowboys traded Cooper to the Browns for basically nothing. It's like a fifth-round pick. What do you think? Do you think Amari will succeed there? Do you think Dallas was done to let him go? How does this affect CeeDee Lamb? What do you think?
I think we need to know who is playing quarterback over there now that we're getting all these cryptic, creepy, probably whiskey-induced messages from Baker Reagan Mayfield. Very formal, using his middle name as well. I think it's hard to tell right now. They're also going to have to get some support over there without Mr. Landry. But I think they made out like bandits looking at the Gallup deal for the Cowboys. Now you look at a deal like Christian Kirk, and it doesn't look quite as much like an overpay for someone like that. But Amari's gonna, he's gonna need some help over there, and we also need to know who that quarterback is gonna be, because I'm interested if they do move on from Baker. Because again, we've seen this a couple of times, like, even if they don't get Watson, which it doesn't feel like that's going to happen. This could just be a gut thing. I just don't feel strongly that is actually what the possibility is. How do you move on from this? Because now you've like totally tarnished this relationship between. It's not as much on him. I'm starting to be more. I have more empathy towards Baker now that the situation's been going on a little bit longer. You look at some teams that are very quarterback needy. So I'm starting to feel a little bad for Baker in the sense where, like, is he a great quarterback? No. But can he win you games? And has he been dealt some short sticks along the way, given also maybe his front office, like, not having that much confidence in him? I don't know that you recover from that. So do they need to go out and get someone at least to compete with him? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really bad when you start flirting with someone else in front of the person you're currently with. So basically, what's going on? Like, Cleveland's pretty obviously going after Watson, and Baker's just be like, well, what the hell, guys? I'm still here. So that's something I don't usually see in the NFL, and like you said, it's a disaster right now. Like Baker's putting out these saying goodbye to Cleveland before he's actually gone type posts. And it's
but maybe it'll be good for him, because you get, now OBJ is gone, you don't have Landry, right? And they were good friends, very obviously. Even OBJ is like advocating as if he's Juice's agent, which I think is very cute. Maybe this is a good fresh start coming off that injury. Maybe it won't be as bad of a situation, but again, I don't know if it's a little too far gone, where it might be time to just like cut ties, bring in someone else, and be done with it.
Yeah, it definitely looks like we're heading to like it's time for fresh start territory there. So it'll be interesting. So yeah, I think for Cooper, it really depends on if the Browns somehow got Watson. I mean, Watson and Cooper would be fantastic for fantasy. But until then, we don't know. But there's definitely there's no OBJ, like you said. Landry's gone, so there's definitely a void in the wide receiver room that. Cooper's obviously the one guy there, and there's not much else behind him. So we'll see.
I don't know, Browns.
Perfectly into where do we think Deshaun Watson's going? So, the rumors like Carolina, New Orleans, the Browns are jumping in. There's some rumors, some whispers about the 49ers. So basically, everyone that needs a quarterback is being linked to this guy. Do you think that we'll A, get a resolution anytime soon, and B, where do you think he ultimately ends up?
here's the thing too. What sucks is this is holding up a lot of movement now in free agency because, teams need to know where Deshaun Watson is going. I think that, to me, if I am Deshaun Watson, I am probably leaning towards the Saints. I think that Matt Rule is not someone that I want to play football for. If he was not there, that's one thing, but everyone's all excited. Watson's going to go here. Like, please be aware that CMC and more are going to be part of this deal. And like some of those very nice weapons that they have are not going to be on the Panthers next year. If Watson is the one that's headed there. So I'm leaning Saints strictly off of, I think that is a better spot. But again, it sounds like Carolina has been very aggressive in this. I think the 49ers are just being ridiculous. Like, I just want the 49ers to shut their mouth. I think that Shanahan is at this point, like, I saw, they're not meeting. Yes, they are meeting, whatever it is. Regardless, like, just, you guys need to have faith in Lance and be done with it. They also need to move Jimmy G. That's another thing. Jimmy G and Watson are holding up so much of the free agency process. And it's just getting annoying at this point. I think Watson has to happen soon. It would be nice by the end of the day. Don't see that happening. By the end of the week, it's time. Like, you gotta get this. It's got to be done with. I'm over it now.
A lot of people are over it. It's just been going on too long. Okay, let's just get it over with already, and let's move on with the rest of our lives. I think from a realistic standpoint, Carolina is probably where he's going to go. I think in terms of where would he fit best, now that they've become an option, and I have to say Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland already has that built-in, running game and offensive line, and defense in a division. Yeah, they have Burrow, but then you have Trubisky and Lamar Jackson's good. So, I mean, if he were to go to the Browns, like, they would immediately become, I think, the top team in the North there. But I don't think that they'll trade for him. I think you do make a good point that people were saying, Watson should go to Carolina because DJ Moore and McCaffrey, but they have to trade some people away to go get them, and they can't keep everybody.
Right. You can't give away all your draft capital. That's the problem. It's going to come down to who can offer the most, I think. Right. Even there is talk of the Falcons. I think that's a ridiculously dumb placement for him because, again, like, they don't have a lot to offer up in the first place. And, someone would be trading for Matt Ryan. It just doesn't, the whole thing doesn't make sense. Yeah. I don't see that happening. Matt Ryan isn't going to, I don't know. That one, I get it. They're going to meet. I think the Browns is more realistic than the Falcons, but it seems like the two that are very aggressive are the Saints and Carolina. And
I wouldn't mind how it goes. I'd really be interested to see what the Saints would give up for him, though, because that would be like going through like their roster. Like, who would you trade for Watson? It'd be interesting to see how they would do that. Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I think Kamara would have to be out the door.
Yeah, Kamara definitely. But see, that's the thing. I don't like it. Had to be some defensive guys. Probably like Davenport. Davenport would have to go.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And then it's like, are the Saints like, then they're like walking into this territory of like possibly blowing it up a little bit too. But like at least you got Watson. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. And again, like, I just want it to happen soon because it is definitely holding up a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe Lattimore. Probably Lattimore had to be put in there too, honestly. Oof. But then like you're like basically cutting your defense for Watson. So like it's weird. It's a lot of like square pegs into round hole situations with some of these like.
Yeah. I'd have to look at draft. I don't even know how many like picks all these guys have and stuff.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be getting at least some decent like draft capital.
At least 2 firsts to start. Otherwise, you're not even walking into the door into the conversation. But other than that, we'll have to see. It'll be just like because it's a bidding war now, honestly. So we'll see what ultimately the cost is to acquire them. But
well, and we've seen the spending that's been going on too. Even like in free agency alone and with trades. People are definitely making some aggressive moves.
Perfect segue again, Steph. Wonderful. Yeah, some of the free agent signings have been kind of crazy. Specifically, Jacksonville throwing like $1 billion at like 4 guys to try to, and I get it, signing the Brandon Sharif. You need to keep Trevor Lawrence upright in order for him to concede. I wouldn't have made Christian Kirk the 3rd highest paid wide receiver in the league because he hasn't really done anything to deserve that, but good for him for getting that money. I think $30 million for Zay Jones is entirely too much. But the Evan Ingram deal is decent. I mean, they must be in love with his athletics and think they can teach him how to catch. Otherwise, why would you sign him? So it's been crazy, like the type of deals that people are getting. And I was hoping like there are going to be some bargains for the Eagles to do, but no one's signing for cheap anywhere. Safeties, anything.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And there is still like a lot of guys left even remaining. But we're going to have to wait. And then it's like, who can sign what with like $4? You're not getting as cheap of deals. And even like the tight ends, they're just getting paid. Like, I don't see that. Even Evan Ingram, I don't see how that makes sense. Now you've got like a super crowded slot because Evan Ingram plays best when he's there. So I'm sure their plan is to take him away from blocking. And I get that. But again, now that's why you get a 1-year deal with him, because he's going to be in, as much as everyone doesn't want to hear it, it is still a little bit of a prove it, because he had ample opportunities on the New York Giants and he blew it a lot of the times. Like, yes, a lot of the scheme was not in his favor. Daniel Jones is a whole nother story, but again, like he was still one of the highest targeted guys and his drops are out of control. Like, he just hasn't looked like Evan Ingram. So I even tweet out today, I wish the best for him and I'm excited for Evan Ingram. He's not moving in my rankings by much, because again, it's so crowded over there now. Like, you have Christian Kirk. And then again, Doug Peterson, this thing that kind of gets me with Christian Kirk is he's never had a 1,000-yard season, right? And then Doug Peterson has actually never coached a 1K campaign of any wideout. So it's like, I don't see where the marriage of all this is going to happen. Even Zay Jones is another one. Like, it kind of eliminates where we're seeing a little bit of fantasy value. Now you move him here and it's more of like that guy that now he's just bench depth for fantasy. Like, if someone goes down, he's a plug-in, I don't see him having any real value as far as a starter for fantasy goes. Whereas I think if you stay in the Raiders, I think there was an argument for that because of the way that they were using towards the ends of the season. But again, like, Christian Kirk is Lawrence's new top wideout, which is great. He's going to play on the outside with Marvin Jones unless something happens there. But again, it's still, regardless, in my opinion, it's still a downgrade in the team and the quarterback at this time. Like, as of now, it's a downgrade in quarterback because we don't know what 100%. We know the talent that is Trevor Lawrence, but we weren't able to see that given last year.
Right. Yeah, I think if you just look at the money spent, you'd expect like what they got for what they spent to be better. I mean, you look at the team and it's like, yeah, it's okay, but like, it's just like a mess now. You have all those people. You have ETN coming back, and you have Arnold and Ingram. So I mean, for fantasy purposes, it's just like, who do you take? I mean, obviously Kirk should be the number one there because that's how he's getting paid. But it seems like they want to do like an all slot offense. Like, everyone's in the slot at the same time. No one's on the outside. Just crowd the middle of the field and go from there.
Honestly, it's kind of reminding me of last year with the Giants when they just started making all these signings, and then when it came down to putting it all together, it did not work. Right. So there's going to need to be a plan in place. And at least they do have a more seasoned coach coming in Doug Peterson. I think that is in their favor. But again, like, he's not exactly someone that has been he never really highlights his wideouts to a point where they're putting up crazy numbers either. So I think that Evan Ingram might even benefit the most in this scenario, which is kind of scary in itself, because then that's also making the assumption that Evan Ingram is going to return to Evan Ingram when he entered the league, not the Evan Ingram that we've seen these past couple seasons. So, and I feel like there's a couple guys like that, I'm trying to think of who else, like even Russell Gage, right? I can't tell if I like it in the beginning of the year when Godwin's not going to be there, but like, Godwin's gone and he's clearly the number 3 option. It takes away any type of value that was the bench in Tyler Johnson and Jalen Darden. It's totally puts a dagger in that. But I like it for Russell Gage, the player. I don't like it for Russell Gage, the fantasy player. I mean, I think he really takes over he's good against man coverage, so he takes over that Antonio Brown kind of role that we saw him in. But again, he's not really as strong of a player. So
yeah, I mean, I like it just because he's attached to Brady, and I think anyone attached to Brady is going to get a bump. And especially with Godwin out for the beginning of the year, and that time like he'll have some good games, and then you can trade him before Godwin comes back.
Right. It's a pass-heavy offense, so no matter what, you have Brady, a pass-heavy offense. Russell Gage has looked he's looked great, and he doesn't work exclusively from the slot, so it is a nice fit. As much as everyone doesn't want to hear that, but I still like the fit. It's just again, some of these signings, it's like I just wasn't expecting.
Yeah. What do you think about DJ Chark to Detroit, and what it means for Amon-Ra St. Brown? Because apparently it destroyed his value somehow.
Yeah, I think this is a really I feel like everyone is acting like this is DJ Chark from 2019 when he broke out and had over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Like, we haven't really seen that from him in a while. I think that, Twitter was tweaking over this. I think it impacts Khalif Raymond, if anyone, who they just also signed to a 2-year contract, right? But again, I mean, that his role will probably be more like returning and whatever. But I mean, I think he's still he can be a very productive boundary receiver, but I think he pairs well almost with Amon-Ra. I don't know what the drama is about, I guess.
I don't get it. I feel like it's just, if anyone signs, it automatically destroys St. Brown's value, and I don't see why. I think a lot of it is because people think that what he got last year was just target based, and he's got a bunch of targets, and that was it. But he's actually a pretty good player, and shouldn't, if anything, it should help him, because now he's not going to be the focus on the outside. You have Hawkinson and Swift, but you still need receivers too. So I think it can only help him.
And St. Brown is very productive too. That's what people forget. It's just he doesn't need as much as some receivers do, because he's someone that doesn't drop the ball. He's able to get the job done, so maybe he doesn't need as much. And I hate to break it to everyone, injuries happen. The likelihood that Hawkinson and Swift play every single game this year is not likely. That's just not a realistic expectation. So at the end of the day, you're going to have someone like St. Brown who can pick up some slack should he need to. So I think his value is definitely, has been inflated like crazy, but I don't think that he's all these people that are kind of trashing him a little bit, saying that he was target dependent. I think you're also taking away from the talent that he has, because he's not, it's not that he has no skills either.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It just seems like they're so ready to just tank him without seeing, the results, which is crazy. But hey, that means he'll be cheap to acquire if everyone's hitting on him.
I feel like we needed to talk about Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, that was what I was going. That was the last thing we were going to talk about, Mitch Trubisky. Okay. So, I'll go first on this one. I think he is an upgrade over what Ben was last season. I think that people were saying he doesn't check down a lot, so that's going to hurt Najee Harris's numbers, but he got a bad rap in Chicago. He wasn't coached well. Not to say that a lot of it wasn't his fault. I mean, he did make some really boneheaded moves there, but I really think that he can be. He'll never be like a Watson, Mahomes type player. But I think that with the coaching he can get in Pittsburgh, he'll be a decent to above average starter, and it'll help all the weapons with the Johnson, Claypool, Freiermuth. I don't think it hurts any of them to have him there.
Yeah, I mean, he has the mobility that we like. Great. I don't know how I feel about it. I think that I feel bad for Trubisky, because it feels very Andy Dalton-esque in the sense that he picked there because he thought it gave him his best chance to be the clear named starter. And I don't know, with the way that the quarterback situation is flowing and how aggressive people are being, I don't know what's stopping the Steelers from drafting a quarterback. I don't think, again, like we talk about these moves, and we've talked about it on shows, like just because a team moves like a quarterback and now this team has new, like that does not mean that they can't go out and draft one or sign another one. There's still a couple guys that are left. Like there's still Mariota, there's still James Winston. I don't think the Steelers are going that route, but the Steelers are most likely, if a guy were to fall to them, I don't see them turning down a Malik or a Pickett. And I think that is not a horrible choice. I think a lot of the movements, I will say, are everyone should take note that I think the league is pretty low on these quarterbacks.
Yeah. It seems like they were even lower than I thought they were with all these moves. And yeah, like you said, like you still have like a Mariota out there, and he's looking trade for, Jimmy G or Watson. And you make a great point. Just because they signed Trubisky doesn't mean they can't, also draft like a Willis. I think this is just, a safeguard against, having a quarterback they like available to them in the draft. And if they, for some reason, can't, trade up, or, Willis and Pickett are gone and they don't like other players, they feel okay with, rolling with to see what Trubisky has for the year. And that's, Pittsburgh has been, a good franchise for a long time. And it's because of moves like this where they, they didn't spend ridiculously high on Trubisky, and they're going to give him like the coaching, and he has the weapons and stuff. So if he turns out great. And if they draft a quarterback and have to sit Willis for a while he learns NFL, and then Trubisky can do that too. So I think it's a great move either way. I do think it could be a Dalton type situation where he doesn't last long as a starter. But I think going to Pittsburgh and being in that system can only help him. Yeah,
I think this is a great opportunity for Trubisky, 100%. Like I think that it's a very great place for him to be able to flourish. You have some nice weapons. You see them already making movements to fix that O-line, which again starts to make me think, are they trending in a direction that should someone fall to them, do they go ahead and draft them? But I think that, Mitch Trubisky, this is a very good opportunity for him to also develop. But again, like that doesn't mean that they're not going to go out and draft a quarterback by any means, because anything could happen. Like the Lions could go and draft Malik and then whatever. Or maybe he starts following. And again, we're also still forgetting, like the Seahawks still have to make a move, because I promise you that Drew Lock is not their starting quarterback.
You promise? Guaranteed.
I promise. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think he is either. Yeah, but there's still some dominoes to fall. So the fact that, it's kind of like musical chairs, and the Steelers were able to like get a chair. It may not be like the best chair or the chair that most people wanted, but at least, they have a spot where if they have to go into a season with him, it's not like going to be a complete disaster. So and that's a spot that a lot of teams can't say they're in right now. So at least they covered their butts for this season. So that's a good thing.
Yes, I agree. And there's a lot of more dominoes that need to fall. So we'll see what happens. Like a couple of names, like I was like looking today, like I totally forgot, like we still need Leonard Fournette to make a move. Now Boston Scott is a very interesting name to keep an eye on, because I think a team might give him a shot. I think it'd be hilarious if the Giants get him, which I wouldn't be mad about. But there's also a lot of tight ends. We still have Conklin and Tanyan. Like there's a lot of guys that are still out there that I think hold value. Max Williams is another name I think keep an eye on. You have Rashad Penny, Allen Robinson, Juju. Like there's still some big names out there. And I wonder if some of these teams, again, like I think they're getting held up. CPAT. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys still left to move.
Yeah. I think a lot of it for like the receivers, especially like maybe in Juju's case, is they're just like, I think they're pricing themselves out a little bit, especially with how deep this draft has gotten at receiver. People seem to be realizing that they can get some value. They're not going to pay like a Juju type player that much money when you have like a Watson or an Austin or a Melton or a Tolbert or whatever, or Wilson in the draft. You might as well just spend the draft, save the money and go get something else. And until a lot of these receivers are going to have to lower their prices if they want to get signed.
Yeah, it becomes this part in free agency where then we just start. It's like 1 year deal, 1 year deal,
Right.
1 year deal, 1 year, and then you see a bunch of 1 year deals. And that wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. Like you said, like a lot of it's like a lot of dams need to break in order for I think the last rush of moves to show up. But everyone's being held up by the quarterbacks. So
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes. The rest of the week
sure.
and everything.
Better sooner than later,
All right.
hopefully, but we shall see.
Hopefully today. All right. Well, that'll do it for today's edition of Every Day is Draft Day. Join us the rest of the week as we continue with the NFL free agent coverage. We have a bunch of stuff, lined up, 7 stakes contests, everything. Just because it's the off season doesn't mean, we stopped, because we're still pumping out a bunch of awesome stuff. So check that out. Anything you want to add, Steph?
No, you guys can find us both on Twitter, and then all of our stuff is the Champions Round. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube if you have not, and check out our app. You guys can download that in the App Store. And that's it. Let's see. Hopefully we get some news today.
Hopefully get some news. All right. You can follow me on Twitter @SteffiSmalls. Have a good day, everyone.
See ya.